I'd like to call to order the March 5th, 2024 Board of Public Works and Utilities. We'll start out with the roll call. Alder Diane Wolf,
Here.
Alder Steve Nodis, myself, I am present. Jared Holder
Here.
and Sabrina Steger.
Here.
And I'm told Mayor Kim might be joining us here sometime soon. Okay. Also note for minutes that we have Alder Jurassic and Alder Stokes who are in the audience at this time. Okay. First order of business after the roll call is consideration and action on minutes from the previous meeting. I'll entertain a motion.
I'll move to approve the minutes.
Second.
Move to approve the minutes by Jared Holder and seconded by Sabrina Steger. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Item number 3 is public input. Members of the public may speak on any topic. They'll be limited to 3 minutes per individual. Please identify your address. Is there anyone here for public input? All right, second call for public input. Third and final call for public input. Public input is closed, and I heard you say that the mayor is there.
Mayor Smith, can you hear us?
Yes, I can. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Moving on to item number 4. Mississippi River Trail presentation by Wisconsin Mississippi River Parkway Commission and Wisconsin Department of Transportation.
I'll just lead this off. I want to thank the Wisconsin DOT representative, Francis Schelfelt, coming in tonight to discuss the Mississippi River Trail and the opportunities it presents for the city. So I guess with that, I'll let you, Francis, take it away. Make sure that.
Yeah, make sure you got a green light on there.
Green light.
Is that working? Okay. Really tall, so I don't know, feels like I'm far from it. Oh, that would be about, thank you, appreciate that. All right, first introduction. My name is Francis Schelfelt. I work for the Department of Transportation. Thank you, Jared, for that. I'm the bicycle and pedestrian coordinator for the department, and I'm also the liaison to the Mississippi River Parkway Commission that manages the Great River Road. So that's why I'm here. The Mississippi River Trail, is an effort that's being led by the Parkway Commission to get a state and ultimately a U.S. bike route designation of the Mississippi River Trail through the state of Wisconsin. The Mississippi River Trail in its whole is approximately 3,000 miles in length. It goes from Minnesota to New Orleans in Louisiana on both sides of the river. 10 of the states that the current MRT runs through, 8 of those have it signed. The state of Wisconsin and the state of Illinois are the only 2 states that do not have that route signed. So we're playing catch up. Approximately 250 of those miles are in the state of Wisconsin. Formal designation, that's the goal. So formal designation comes in the form of, if we're going to aim for US bike route, requires a resolution from every community that the route runs through. Now, working for the Department of Transportation, there's portions of this route that are on Highway 35. That roadway is our jurisdiction from a roadway maintenance perspective, but it is through your municipality, your municipal boundaries is why we're here tonight. So regardless of road jurisdiction, this is about municipal boundaries is the reason for it. And we're aiming for that formal designation in the form of resolution because that's the foundational piece for US bike route. So that's why we're aiming for resolution. I've got 8 counties in the state of Wisconsin that have, that I'm reaching out to. I've got about 45 of the resolutions so far of the total 72 that I've got to get. So that's about where we're at. We've got every resolution from the counties of Trempealeau and Buffalo, all but 1 from Crawford County and all but 1 from Grant County. And I'm only missing Vernon County and 1 municipality from Vernon County. We'll have Vernon County done also. So that's where we're at. I actually just got one signed from Town of Shelby tonight. I was with them earlier tonight. Ultimately, once we get that formal designation, we're going to go towards signage of that route. So those are the 2 major goals. Benefits to the community. Now, obviously, anybody that's out active, bicycling, walking, whatever it might be, there's health benefits. But ultimately, the economic benefits, for endorsing US and state bike routes, it's an economic benefit, to the businesses and to the communities that it runs through. So ultimately, the steps in this process, and what I need from you guys tonight is to have a conversation about the current route. And I say current, if you were to Google Mississippi River Trail, Wisconsin, you're gonna find a map on the internet. I'm not saying believe everything in the internet, because that's not always the case, but it exists. And so we want to acknowledge that it does exist. There's a map out there. It has turn-by-turn directions. It's actually housed on our DOT website. It doesn't have the formal designation. It doesn't have those resolutions supporting it. So it's just a map at that point. It's just a line on paper. So we want to confirm what that route should be. We're actually proposing some changes. We're recommending some changes to the city of Onalaska. And that's in that attachment that I gave you. And then ultimately to aim towards a formal resolution. Now, I did provide for you a draft resolution. The text in blue is specific to the city of Onalaska. It is not intended to be presumptive. It's something that every community tends to ask us for, so they have something to react to. That's all it's for, is to give you something to react to. But everything that's in blue is specific and tailored to the city of Onalaska. There's a couple of slides in here that talk about some of the increasing trends, both at the US and state levels for bicycling and outdoor recreation, which is very closely related to the bicycling area. It also talks about some of the other related efforts along the same corridor. I mentioned the Parkway Commission is heading this effort. We also have cooperation from the Wisconsin DNR, the Mississippi River Regional Planning Commission, and then ourselves from the department for this route. It's also an identified route by the National Bike Fed organization, and also AASHTO as an identified route that they wanted to have in the future. So we're not coming up with this on our own. The Great River Road also just got designated All-American Road, which they've been able to garner substantial marketing money. And this would be another feather in the cap and another thing to diversify that marketing, which again goes back to the economic benefits. National pollinator effort just got kicked off right off of Lake Onalaska, actually here this past fall. And we're also working with DNR cooperatively, specifically on we're working with the town of Shelby to build a multi-use path from the south side of La Crosse down to Goose Island. And all the grading is going to be replanted with native pollinator habitat seed to enhance the monarchs and all the other pollinators that generally travel the Mississippi River corridor north-south, just like birds. Some more statistics on bicycling and those things. I want to talk about the route process. That's on the next slide. So we're identifying existing conditions. Well, existing conditions for me is because there's a map on the internet. I want to identify that map is existing condition. If somebody were to Google it and were to use their phone or any other app to follow the route, that's what current people are doing. So I want to acknowledge that. So in any of the map applications, there's an existing route that's designated that is based upon that website, that map. But then we're here to talk about alternative routes. And so you'll notice in the resolution in the packet, there's an alternate route identified. And that's what we're here to kind of talk about tonight. I'm not saying that I'm an expert in the city of Onalaska. I live in the city of La Crosse. I've been here for 25 years, going on 26. So I'm familiar with the area, but maybe I'm missing something. I was able to talk with Jared and some of the staff about these alternate routes and some of the things that could be discussed either now or in the future for the routing through this area. But I'd like to bring those up today just to make sure everybody's aware of them. Ultimately, we want to come down to an optimal route. Only one route will be signed. The US Bike Route Standards only allows for one route signage unless there's a closure. US Bike Route 30 runs through the state of Wisconsin. They have a detour of US Bike Route 230 because US Bike Route 30 takes them to Merrimack Ferry, which only operates during the summer months. And so they have to have a detour route around that when the ferry is not in operation. But those are really the only exceptions that US Bike Routes allow. The local resolution, my understanding is that the Public Works Board would then recommend to the council, and I'm willing to come back for the council meeting if that be necessary. Once we get that formal designation from all 8 counties, all 64 communities that are under those counties, we'll move towards that state designation. And then ultimately, I forgot to mention, I'm the co-chair of the National Transportation Committee for the Parkway Commission. So all 10 states, I'm the co-chair for that National Transportation Committee. And we're aiming to submit a 10-state US bike route application all at once, all 10 states on behalf of this. So that's the other part that, you know, although similar is a grander plan. Then the last piece is the outreach to local businesses and organizations for continued promotion and support. And we'll talk about destination signage as an option too. There's a couple of inserts that come out of that 13-page map. That's this next slide. It says existing conditions. That's the insert that covers the Onalaska and northern La Crosse area. Optimization of the route. The Parkway Commission set these priorities specifically in order. For the most part, proximity to the river was their highest priority. We want to get river views as much as we possibly can. Access to the destination is a very close second. So if there's amenities, whether that be food, lodging, restrooms, parks, museums, so on and so forth. Minimum vehicle volumes and speeds or let's just say they're interchangeable at number 3. Complementary bicycle and pedestrian facilities. Specifically here, we've got the Great River State Trail to the north. We've got the multi-use path that goes south through exit 3. You know, those are separated facilities. They give users a safer, a feeling of a safer and separated facility. So we want to optimize those wherever we can. Distance off the direct route is considered as a detriment. So if we're diverging them off to a destination, that's a detriment. So we kind of weigh those things in line. Gravel versus paved. Again, to the north, we've got the Great River State Trail, which is on gravel, but it gets some such great river views. So it just seems, you know, that it outweighs that detriment. So that's that. Let's get to the route discussion because we're sure that's the goal for tonight. So the current routing has us on the Great River State Trail, which ultimately comes into La Crosse, below Highway 35 up to Great River Landing. And then it crosses at Main Street over to 3rd Avenue, then travels south on 3rd Avenue and then gets over on Oak Forest Drive and then goes into the industrial park and then onto the state trails and the trail system down there. Again, with the goal to be closer to the river and ultimately to kind of match up with the Regional Route 1 that was a cooperative effort through the LAPC. We're looking to stay as close to river as we can, ultimately following Highway 35 through the exit 3 with the Eagle viewing area. And then we jump over, if you get down into City of La Crosse, over at Livingston Street and then over to the Avon Street Greenway. The one thing that's kind of difficult in the city of Onalaska is, and this was where the discussion that Jared and I talked for an hour, or probably even more than that, about is, you know, do we get off at County Z? And then there's no pedestrian facility on the other side though. So there's a gap, you know, then you got the multi-use path from there down ultimately till you get to the sidewalk section, more in the core of the city. So then you'd have a width issue. But then you'd get them right next to all the amenities, which is a good thing from the economic side. Or the other option that we talked about is we talked about keeping them on the other side, on the west side of 35. But then we similarly get them to the Great River Landing. Now we're back to sidewalk widths all the way down to the Dairy Queen intersection, basically. You know, so there's some shortcomings in those alternatives because of with multi-use, multiple uses, bicycles and pedestrians. We generally desire a 10-foot width. And we have these width restrictions that we'd be dealing with, or gaps in facilities. So at this point, because of the current conditions, our recommendation or the recommendation of the Mississippi River Trail work group that I'm working with is that we stay on the Great River State Trail to Great River Landing. We utilize ultimately 2 crossings of Highway 35. We'd cross at Main Street to 3rd Avenue, follow 3rd Avenue down to Oak, and then Oak across Highway 35 at the signalized intersection, and then south on the multi-use path. That's a recommendation under the current conditions today. But I'd be remiss as the bicycle and pedestrian coordinator if I didn't say, if I were bicycling this area, it's very unlikely that I'm going to cross 35 twice. I'm going to stay on that west side and probably travel on the sidewalk for that segment from Dairy Queen North to Great River Landing. It's just a fact. There's a desire line that comes with that. And I just want to make sure that I'm very clear that, you know, if conditions were different, that would be my recommendation. But with the current widths that are there, mixing those uses, bicyclists and pedestrians, especially through that area, with the new development there, trying to think of the restaurants and stuff that are right in that little, area. It's just, it's a bad mix. And so without that additional width, I wouldn't recommend that at this point, although you're going to get it anyways. So that's what this alternative route map indicates. We did talk about other things, moving over to Fourth, I think, a little bit further north, you know, just different things to get them away from Highway 35 and some of those sidewalk widths. But again, you're back to that whole thing of facilities and widths and mixing of uses and so on and so forth. And I'll come back to the discussion because ultimately this is meant to be a discussion with you guys. There's a draft resolution in the presentation. It's completely blank. The one that I gave you with the blue stuff is specific to you guys. The steps and timelines, we're working through these local meetings right now. As I alluded to, I've got 8 counties, 64 communities within those counties, 72 total to get. I'm at 40, 45-ish. The goal is to have this done by March to June of 2025, so we can present a legislative action for the funding of the purchase and installation of the signs. We have 4 representatives on the Parkway Commission. They actually wrote legislation to fund it. It was either $300,000 or $350,000 to fund all the signage for the entire route. They pulled it this last budget because I wasn't ready. I didn't have enough resolutions for them to be confident that we we're gonna be able to spend the money in this biennium. And so they pulled it, but they said they'll reintroduce it again in 2025 for that biennial budget. So the financing and the commitment from the legislative side is there to fund the signage. But ultimately we would get all the resolutions, submit for formal designation of the route, and then we'd sign it. So I'm thinking signage would follow in like 2026. That would occur. The signage we're talking about is on this slide here. I got a far left slide, which would be similar type signage to what you'd see on the Great River State Trail, where it's just MRT and a bicycle sign. The middle sign is where it would share with the Great River Road. That's from a counterpart of mine in Missouri, where the Great River Road and the MRT share the same routes. You'd see the same left turn, the same sign side by side. One thing to make a note of is the US bike route symbol has changed since the MRT was originally signed in those other states. That's the far right placard, and ours would look similar to that, other than it would just be MRT down where it says 79. The next slide shows some of that local marketing or that destination sign that I would mention. This would be similar to other signs that you guys have in the city of Onalaska. They would be restricted to signage restrictions, obviously based on spacing and so on and so forth, unless you're off of the state highways. In those areas, then it's up to local jurisdiction as far as what they're going to allow for those destination signage. Those would be pay to play, similar to interstate sign, the blue interstate signs and so on and so forth. And the municipalities or their businesses would then be sponsoring their own signs. The FAQs on the next slide, I try to cover all this in the thing, but they're ones that are frequently asked. Why are we doing a resolution versus letter of support? To get a US bike route, we need resolutions, not letters of support. So that's why we're trying to build that foundational piece for US bike route. The sign installation, again, our legislative members have drafted the initial installation and purchase of those. Maintenance was supposed to fall back on local jurisdictions. But based upon the feedback that we got from specifically Grant County, who has a large majority of their signs are not on the state highway system. They're on county roads and or municipal streets. I believe that our legislators are going to draft the next time to include a routine maintenance cost into that budgeting effort, so that it won't fall back on any of the local municipalities in the future either. Although life expectancy on signs is 10 to 15 years, and the installation of those signs is $250 to $350 a piece. That includes posts and so on and so forth. So we're all taxpayers, so it's going to come out of somewhere. It's just not going to come out of the local budget. Contact information is on the last slide. I'm at the very bottom because I am low man on the totem pole, even though I am making the presentation tonight. Sherry Kwame is the chair of the Parkway Commission. She does wish to be here tonight. She just got back from a long road trip from Florida where they winter, and she said her hip is in a spot where she just couldn't get back into a car and drive up here from Ferryville tonight, but she wishes she could be here and wanted me to say hello on her behalf for tonight. So with that, I'm open to questions, but I don't know the format of the meeting, so.
I would point out too that we did draft a city resolution and the city attorney helped draft that using the framework that the DOT provided. And that's in the front of this presentation.
That resolves one question I would have had right there. That's good. I guess I do have two questions and they're probably for Jared, actually. In fact, I know they are. They both resolve around cost. So, what would we be responsible for that we do not currently fund? Anything?
So through this, as Francis has stated, that the DOT is proposing to, or the Parkway Commission is proposing to provide the signage. So, that'll be provided. The signs will last 10 to 15 years, as it's pointed out in the presentation. As Francis has pointed out, it's been brought, your point has been brought up at some of the larger counties to our south that have more mileage. So they are looking at including maintenance signage in there too, but hopefully if the posts will last longer than the signs. So if we have to replace a sign, it's not, we can probably get one of these signs for $50. So I don't see it as a huge cost. I think the benefit of having the whole entire system of thousands of miles far outweighs if we have to replace one sign. So I think you'll get more people hopefully coming through the Great River Landing, maybe enjoying our downtown. It's Francis probably has some numbers that use it in a year, but it's gonna definitely be something that people will seek out.
Oh, I have totally support what I'm hearing here. I just have to look at some of the practical questions.
Yep.
So what I'm hearing then is worst case, the legislature does not include state funding for this on a maintenance basis for permanence. Then what we're looking at that we don't currently do right now anyway with some of these trails is that we would be having to pay for signage. That would be the big cost, potentially.
That is the only cost I can see at this time. And I think even if the signage was getting to the point where it was getting deficient, let's say in 10, 12, 15 years, and the Parkway Commission could not refund maintenance of those signs, worst case scenario, we could take the signs down. Worst case scenario. I mean, and somebody's going to probably do something at that point if they get, because we're not going to be the only ones with getting signage that will be at a point where it needs maintenance. So I would guess that there would be a clamoring of the 72 counties and municipalities that in Wisconsin that approve these resolutions and let the signage go in to say either take down your signs or replace them.
Yeah, and the other thing to point out is that if the signs are along our highways, then when I was talking about jurisdictionally, if there are highway signs, because they're in our roadway right away, then they'll be ours to maintain. So the only ones that would be, again, worst case scenario, the ones that you'd have to worry about would be the ones that are on Third and Oak Avenue. Those would be the ones that would be your jurisdictional signs. So at 4 signs per installation, if you have an ahead and an at, you'd have 4 at Main and, well, actually in Main's Highway 137.
Yeah.
So you actually wouldn't have them there either. You would have them just at Oak and Third. So
Yeah.
you're technically probably talking about just 4 signs.
Yeah.
And a head and an at, a head and an at, northbound, a head and at, southbound. So you'd be talking 4 sign installations. At worst case scenario, like Jared said, the $250 to $350 per sign includes posts. You'd be talking $1,000 to $1,200 every 10 to 15 years.
Okay. Second one, another one on cost. Agree with you that it is very likely that a not insignificant number of bicyclists will just continue on down anyway and not take the alternate route. Have we looked at the feasibility of creating the conditions to where that would be acceptable? And what is the cost?
So I have looked at that with Francis and as stated, we got 5-foot sidewalk down in that area. You really want to have a 10-foot wide path, bi-directional path. Well, the problem with that area is our storefronts are very close to the right of way. There is boulevard area through there, but we have multiple amenities through there, such as trees. We have tree grates. We have plantings on the corners. We have some of the storm sewer facilities that the sidewalk drains into that are planted. So it would be most likely very costly to go in there and remove all of that. And then you'd have to consume what you have for boulevard area, which is where we put the snow. So, you have a 5-foot boulevard, you need another 5 foot, you're going to be basically almost in the back of the curb is what we would have to do. So it would be very difficult, I would say, at this point without another highway project. And that highway was just redone 5 years ago. So it's going to be many, many years until that highway gets reconstructed again that we
So
can.
it's not feasible.
In my mind, it's not feasible.
And then third, but certainly not last, is the safety aspect. As you said, they'll be having to cross over twice now. Have you done any kind of studies, Jared, on potential safety impacts?
So right now at Highway 35 and 157 or Main and Second Avenue, we have a lot of pedestrian crossings currently. And that light is actually, when you hit the pedestrian timer, it gives you approximately 8 seconds with no traffic to get started in the crosswalk. We did that as a safety measure. And actually that intersection, if you're a Class A bicyclist that wants to be on the road, Main Street is striped for bi-directional traffic. And actually we have a ramp on the one side. So it's the one block of Main Street is really, it's actually signed pretty well for a bicycle. And Third Avenue, with the project that Kevin did for 2015, we actually took the parking off one side and put a AASHTO legal bike lane along that route. So we've got a legal bike lane. That's part of the reason when I've talked about with Francis, is this was a natural, already striped. We didn't have to, it isn't like we're coming in today and we're saying, okay, we got to have another meeting to take off parking. We got to put the bike lanes on. We got to stripe it and do all these things. These are all things we've already done and we already have in our maintenance budget. So it really kind of works into that. And then at Highway 35 and Oak Forest Drive, that's another one where there is a crosswalk that the DOT put in with the new signal lights. So it's about as safe as you can get without crossing at a signal where you have a crosswalk push button is probably as safe as you can get it as a crossing. Really, in my mind, it's still not a perfect. No crossing is totally safe, but
Yeah, I mean, there's a couple things. By funneling all the pedestrians to one location, we're always gonna see a higher number of crashes at those intersections because we're putting everybody there, right? So to say, we're gonna add a US bike route and there's gonna be less crashes, I'd be lying to you. There'll probably be more. But it's a volume thing. In the same token, the number of crashes per crossing is going to be less. Because ultimately, the more we make people aware that that crossing is a US bike route crossing, the more volume of pedestrians. I mean, I've traveled to Washington DC and there's certain crossings where, there's 35 people crossing every time the light turns green, for those crossings. There's gonna be less pedestrians hit just by the fact of the volume of people that are crossing.
Is this a location where we would consider putting in those high visibility pedestrian cross lights?
I would not put a rapid flashing beacon can't be installed at a traffic signal.
Okay,
If the scenario, and this is something we work with the DOT traffic engineer on timing of the system, because it's a state highway. But truly, if you want to have it, you take your lowest user as far as ability to cross and speed of crossing, and then you assign that a time, and you can close down the intersection so it's red in all directions for that time. But that really bogs down it. And once again, like Francis did, the more users you get, the more it bogs it down, and then it gets very detrimental to through traffic. So, you're always balancing all the needs of all users at that time.
so I have, Mayor, did you have anything you would like to add?
Yes, thank you. First of all, I wanted to thank Francis for coming to our meeting tonight. It certainly helps to have, a live body there to answer our questions and explain it in more detail. So thank you so much for coming. I did see the presentation once already. I think it was at LAPC. And where it was also well received. So I just can go on record as supporting this signage proposal and as well as the staff's recommendation. Thank you.
Diane, did you have anything to add?
I'm good. Thank you, Chair.
Okay, Sabrina? No, okay. Okay, I'll entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion to approve resolution 12-2024 as stated in our packet tonight.
I'll second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor, please say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Thank you.
Sharon, does that mean that does it go to the council or is?
It goes to the common council
this
next
is
week.
So this is like a recommendation to approve.
To the-
or how-
Yes, yeah.
Perfect. All right. I didn't understand the. Yep. Perfect. Thank you. I just want to make sure. Thank you.
Okay, so next we are on agenda item number 5, 2024 pavement maintenance chip seal project. Jared.
Thank you. In your packet tonight, you do have the proposed 2024 chip seal list. In that packet, we've got a variety of areas that we are proposing to chip seal. We have a variety of maps. You can see that there is what I call the downtown area. It has a variety of streets. We are chip sealing farther east along East Main Street, the Coach Light neighborhood out by Walmart, and then getting further east in the city out in the Timbercrest French Road area, and then along South Kinney, the subdivisions out there. So we do have an estimated cost of $1.75 a square yard. That has been confirmed with LaCrosse County for the upcoming work. We are proposing to do $351,315 worth of work with LaCrosse County. They have been providing chip seal services to the city for, well, at least 28 years. It's probably about 35 years they've been doing it. So we have a good system worked out that the city staff goes out and sweeps right away. We've really kept our citizen concerns with chip sealing down by getting out and doing that maintenance of sweeping right away. I do feel this is a great maintenance product for our city streets, and I think this has extended the life of our streets over time. So we're recommending that we move forward with the chip seal project.
I'll make a motion to approve the chip seal project.
I'll second.
Okay, motion by myself. Was that Sabrina?
Yeah.
Okay. Seconded by Sabrina. Is there any discussion?
I would also add that we had $400,000 budget in the 2024 capital improvements projects for pavement maintenance. That will go toward this, and then it will go toward part of the crack filling that you'll see in the pavement bid that is upcoming.
Any other questions or comments? Hearing none, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Item number 6, 2024 miscellaneous concrete project bid. Back to Jared.
I'm gonna let Kevin take this one.
Thank you, Jared. Yeah, I'll be taking over the next couple of items here as we move through the packet. So in your packet tonight, we did have the 2024 miscellaneous concrete project bid. In the packet, we did have the bid as advertisement as a placeholder. The project was bid this morning. I did pass around the bid opening results. Mayor and Alder Wolf, I did email you guys right before the meeting a picture of this and the other handout that was handed out. So you would have a copy if you would like to look at it. So we did receive 4 bids this morning. This is an annual project that we do every year. We did have a couple of new bidders to the project that were vetted. We did call references for those. So the apparent low bid this morning was BMD Concrete Innovations. This is a company out of Winneconne, Wisconsin. They have done additional work, and I did do reference calls to City of Shawano, City of Appleton. They've also done work, City of Fitchburg, City of Stevens Point. Very similar tonight. So I do believe that they would be able to perform the work for the listed bid price as shown in the handout tonight.
Okay. I'll make a motion to approve the concrete project bid by BMD Concrete Innovations in the amount of $254,773.
I'll second.
Okay, seconded by Sabrina. Any comments or questions, Jared? No.
I'm going through the budget.
Oh, sure. Yeah, just so we know for a layout of the budget, we did have the 254,000 and change
Yeah.
for the bid item. We did have, we will be able to cover, we did have 150,000, we had 150,000 for our sidewalk management program, 50,000 for the miscellaneous repair and 40,000 as part of the park ADA project. Additionally, there was another item in here in the 2024 capital improvements with the library. We'll be doing some work in front of there. That was 12,500. And then we do budget a little bit in the stormwater utility, roughly about $25,000 as part of this project. They will be doing catch basin repairs. So we will have plenty of funds to cover the bid.
Roger, I saw in the staff review summary that the 2024 capital improvements and operating budgets covered it all. Yeah. Any questions or comments at all? Sabrina?
I did have a question. Where's Pember Companies out of? It just seemed wild that they're.
They're out of Menominee, Wisconsin. We actually do get a bid from them every year. They are sometimes on the higher end normally, but it's just what they submitted. I will say they had some very high bid items, as you can see the total. But in some of these things, it's the contractor's discretion. Obviously, if potentially they were hoping they'd be the only bid, if that would have came in, we would have had to rebid the project. But my guess would be they're just taking a flyer, right? Trying to see if they can get it, something that might be able to turn a little bit more profit than an average project. But yes, that was a shocker even when we opened it this morning. So, but yes, they do work. They have done work for the city, other city projects. They've done some lift station work. So, kind of double-edged sword. We always appreciate contractors bidding on our work and routinely bidding on our work, but I don't know if this was a newer staff member or something, here, see what you do. We'll test you on this. But yeah, that one was an odd one, for sure. Normally don't see that kind of pricing.
Roger that. Any other questions or comments? All right, all those in favor, please say aye.
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 Opposed? Motion passes. Moving on to item number 7, 2024 City Hall Solar Project. And this will be both in a presentation and a request for proposal. Kevin, I understand you're taking this one too.
Yep, that's correct. Thank you, Aldernaut. So yeah, as part of this, we wanted to just put a little presentation for the City Hall rooftop solar project. This was included in the 24 capital improvements project, but we just wanted to walk through, as this would be a new project, a new technology for the city of Onalaska to use. So we just wanted to put a quick slide together. Next slide, Jared. So just sort of a basic overview of how I wrote the RFP and sort of designed the project there. We will have, we did put the RFP for 100 kilowatt AC solar system. As part of that, some of the reason in the original capital improvements, we did have a larger solar system, but we toned it down a little bit to marry in with Xcel Energy's requirements. They have certain brackets of electrical production they put you in. So this was the one that the most production you could have and still receive the full retail rates for it. So some of the system components, we will, I did spec out premium photovoltaic modules, basically the solar panels. As part of that, they will have an 85% power output after 20 years. Solar panels degrade about 0.5% annually, so they'll lose about 0.5% production. So we did put that in there. I did ask for them to have a minimum 10-year warranty. I did specify in there, my assumption is that we would have two 50 kilowatt inverters. The inverters will have a minimum 20-year warranty. So the inverters actually take the solar panels, produce DC direct current, and the inverter changes it to alternating current to be able to put it on the grid. So I would envision we'd have two of them just in case one goes down, you'd still be able to produce some solar power. The module racking, so the racking that the solar panels will sit on has a 20-year warranty. And then also as part of solar panel production, I did have in there specified a sort of solar panel standards that there would be a ratio, the module capacity, the inverter to would have a 1.2 to 1.4 would be allowed the modules to the inverter capacity will be rated for 1.2 to 1.4 to allow for solar clipping. And further in the presentation, I'll go over what solar clipping is. Next slide, please. The solar panels that you can see on the screen, you can see right now, I'm anticipating, I'll go over the picture, that we'd have some over what would be the eastern side of the building. So administrative finance, the second floor, some over on the far western side, the older part of City Hall, the police station currently, and then the police station garage, and then ultimately the garage for the fire department bays would be the potential areas of the City Hall roof that would receive solar panels. Some of these were the largest areas that we could have. The roof above the council chambers is arch, so you wouldn't want that. And actually the fire department roof is almost too small to put anything when you talk about having some safety standards for, you want some area to walk around. So I think OSHA standards are the panels should be 6 feet from the edge of the roof, right? So somebody could easily walk around, wouldn't have a chance to fall off. So that's why the fire department roof was thrown out. The solar panels themselves, they'll be linked with smart fuses. This will allow it to monitor for overheating and output. If a solar panel would become defective, the fuse, just like a circuit breaker, would blow, so there wouldn't be any thing that they could overheat the system or potentially a fire issue. Currently, the industry standard is the solar panels in the system would have an anticipated useful life of 20 to 25 years. As part of my design, I found out that the average sunlight per day, this is an average over the whole calendar year, is about 4.62 hours. This is a thing they use the city of Milwaukee, being our largest municipality in the city, is where they do that. The panels will be tilted to assist with sunlight capture and also lowering the panel maintenance. So if you tilt them, 10-degree tilt on the panel, when they do get snow on them, we won't have to clean it off. The sun will just melt the snow and it'll drain right off. So when you think of the winter time, if it does get a snow event, we don't have to send staff up there to clean them off. The snow will just melt off and run off. Also included in the RFP did include a 5-year system workmanship warranty and a 5-year maintenance contract. We would potentially have to pay for the maintenance contract, and we go over that with the RFP, but I do want to include those in there just to help train staff as we get up to speed with this newer technology. Next slide, please, Garrett. So the next slide in the packet is something I learned called solar clipping. So when you look to set up a solar system, if you want to be able to capture the most power you can. So if you put exactly 100 kilowatt of DC panels on the roof for 100 kilowatt AC inverter, you would only be able to produce your maximum power output at the peak days when the sun is hottest, when in the sky, when you have very sunny days. So by basically oversizing the roof panels, you're allowed to gain some extra energy in there. So actually right now being proposed, we'd actually put 130 kilowatts of panels on the roof to supply to our 100 kilowatt inverter. So that means lower light earlier in the day, later in the evening, we'll still be able to hit max power to the inverter without it being peak sunlight. So you're able to capture some more energy earlier in the day, later in the day to assist with that. And that's what the graph shows there. Some of the benefits you get overall better production on cloudy days. City Hall aligns slightly southeasterly, so we're not directly due south, so it helps with that. And then also as the system ages, the panels will lose production over their lifetime. So by having additional panels up there, we'll be able to keep the system up closer to being able to put maximum output for a longer period of time in its useful life. Next slide. So these are project financials. These are, I had some assumptions in here. I'll go over here in these. So in doing some research, industry standards is you pay about $2,000 to $2,500 a kilowatt is what I was able to find. So with a 100 kilowatt system being called out in the RFP, I had an assumption the total project cost would be about $250,000. Currently with the Inflation Reduction Act, after the system is operational, we will be able to put in for a tax rebate of 30% of the project. Additionally, we will receive probably a couple of $1,000s, maybe 5,000 to 10,000 from locally Wisconsin Focus on Energy. Once again, like I said, we are speccing out a 100 kilowatt system, and that system is sized to maximize the savings on the Xcel's energy distribution generation tariff operations for net metering at full retail rates. So it was sized so when we produce a kilowatt of power, Xcel will pay us exactly what they charge us for it. So it'll be an even swap. And Xcel's rate, once you get any system above 100 kilowatts, they reduce the amount of rebate they give to you. They cut it down by a third because they just consider anybody over 100 kilowatts to be a larger consumer. So that's why we sized the system and it was so we could take advantage that we get maximum credit for the energy we're producing back to the grid. Some of my information I did in doing the project, right, I am anticipating on average saying roughly 20% of the electrical savings. The anticipation is there of when you charge. We receive on our electric bill, there's 3 different rates. We pay an off-peak, a summer on-peak, and a winter on-peak. So depending at what times we're producing the electricity, the rebate will be factored into that when Xcel meters it. So, you know, a very sunny afternoon, 3 o'clock in July, right, we'll get the full summer rate for that. But some of the other times, earlier or later in the morning, or potentially some of the winter times, we won't get that full rate back. So that's why I sort of anticipated. Off of my simple calculations, I put in there, right, we had a $250,000 estimated contract. I said we'd have a total project cost of the city about $175,000. Like I said, my assumptions, I assume that 60% of the time we'd be on the off-peak rate. So that rate is like 5.5 cents, and then 20% winter, 20% summer peak. So I used that we were about, my estimation was we'd have like 6.7 cents per kilowatt hour is the average aggregate that we'd be producing. So that's just a simple calculation there. And then I assume that our electric rates would go up 3% annually. So that's how I got to a roughly about a 15-year payback. And finally, the system has anticipated life currently with solar panels of 20 to 25 years. So that was sort of the summary of the RFP and what the project would be. We did have the complete RFP included in your packet. That's what we sent out. I guess I'll ask, are there any questions on the presentation or the basic layout before we get in the RFP?
Anyone, Mayor or Diane, have any questions?
I have no questions.
I'm fine for right now. Thank you.
Okay. Have a question and a comment. So first off, the question, reference safety. Have we considered a sudden snow shift from the panels onto the roof within the weight limits of the roof at all? If we have a huge swath of snow come crashing down onto the roof, is that going to cause any kind of an issue on the weight limitations of the roof?
I wouldn't expect that. I guess all around it, where would we, I mean, the snow just naturally falls where, I don't know where we'd get the extra volume of snow that wouldn't.
Yeah, but it would shift is what I'm getting at. Instead of just it falling on the roof, you'd have it actually having an.
Oh, off the panel shifting
Panel
down.
onto the roof. Yeah.
I think that would be more of a slower process
Yeah.
than a large volume, right? The snow is going to fall there. It's going to slowly melt. I don't know. Maybe if we have some wind, maybe we would have a larger volume.
I don't think the dynamic loading
Yeah.
being 10 degrees, it's not going to be enough to, of a dynamic loading to actually cause failure in the roof. If we had one single panel that was 50 foot long and it was at a 45-degree angle, it might be a little different, but I think at the 10-degree angle, they're relatively flat. I mean,
Okay.
10 degrees is, you know,
And they're going to be relatively close to the ground. I mean,
Yeah,
the
yeah.
bottom of the panel might be a foot or 18 inches off the rooftop, so there wouldn't be a long fall
Okay.
from the
and
bottom of the panel to the roof surface.
Okay.
It was in the RFP too, that this got to get reviewed to make sure the roof,
Correct.
there is a, in the RFP that was provided, there is a, they got a professional engineer identified to make sure that the roof can handle the loading. So,
Okay. And then the only comment I have is on one of the first slides on the project overview, premium photovoltaic modules, panels with at least 85% power output after 25 years. Modules to have a minimum of a 10-year warranty. So that's a good planning figure, probably based off historic performance. But obviously, if it only has a 10-year warranty, then the confidence of a manufacturer for projected power output is only out to 10 years. It's not out to 25, so just keep that in mind. So if
I-
it was, the warranty would be longer.
I would, we'll get in, Kevin's gonna get into the RFP here, but couple of things with the RFPs when they came in is, the first thing is the numbers that Kevin is providing in his first slide are conservative, very conservative compared to what the RFPs came back at. They are providing numbers. They think we're gonna have outputs and cost savings that are greater than what Kevin has shown. And then the other thing is everyone's got a 20-year warranty on their,
Panels
all the
submitted.
panels submitted. It's not in
These are
our,
my minimum qualifications.
not in our RFP,
Minimum.
20-year
not
warranty.
in RFP, but then.
We'll go
Alright.
through in the RFP. I'll go over all the warranties we would
Yep.
get with the one the
Yep.
staff is
Okay.
going to suggest.
Already feel better then.
Yeah.
Okay, good. All right. Any other comments or questions? All right, why don't you move on into the RFP then?
We did hand out the consultant summary. It was myself, Kevin, and Dan Wick, our park and rec director, who's been involved in this process. We did also have Brian Babish assist with reading those and giving us input also because being the building and grounds manager with that. So we did score them. I'll let Kevin kind of go over the scoring process.
Yeah, thank you, Jared. So yeah, we did hand out the scoring summaries. Today, the RFP was due by 4 PM last Thursday,
Thursday.
February 29th. Our Park and Rec Director, Dan Wick, he was able to score them Friday. Jared had Monday, and then I got them today and scored them this morning. So we did receive 3 bids. Solar Connection is a local solar installer here to the city of Onalaska. Olson Solar again is a local provider. QSTN, Queston, they saw the RFP on the city website. They are a firm out of Dubuque, Iowa that did submit an RFP for the project. So you can see as we scored them, as we go down, I guess to start, very competitive pricing. When you look at the bottom right, everybody was seeing the same thing for the RFP process. Calculating up everybody's scores, you can see that Solar Connections did have the highest total score when graded. For that, the company out of Dubuque, Iowa, Queston did have the second, and Olson Solar was third on the total scores. For compensation, you can see at the bottom that Olson Solar did provide the lowest cost, with Solar Connection second and Queston third. After review and discussion with Dan and Jared and myself this morning, the staff would recommend going with Solar Connections for the RFP. That was based on a variety of factors in there. Just what they submitted in the RFP and the scoring from that. Additionally, maybe what separated them from Olson Solar on the cost is just the scales of the project, right? This would be potentially a smaller project for Solar Connections. I would say they might be one of the larger, more premier companies for that. Olson Solar did provide a nice RFP, but once again, it was more on the residential side as we read through it, and this would be on the upper capabilities of what they've done. Solar Connections has done a lot of stuff. They're currently doing the county's project. The county has a $1.5 million contract they signed last year. They're doing solar at about 7 county sites. Solar Connections will be installing the Onalaska Middle School. Will get a 520 kilowatt solar panel as part of the new update. They're doing that. They work for the city of La Crosse, Locally here, the Humane Society, Village of West Salem. So they've done a lot of projects in the area. We are very comfortable with what they proposed. Another factor of our comfort level of Solar Connections, their parent company is Matthew Construction.
Hmm.
It's located right here in the city of Onalaska. So the city had a long a working relationship with them. Just going over what like I said, what Jared said, what they provided that really set them apart, right, is and I can almost read this here. So as part of their process, they will have a 2-year blanket warranty. For the first 2 years after the date of system operation, Solar Connections will make all necessary replace warranty items at no charge, parts or labor. They also are providing a 10-year workmanship warranty for the project. And like Jared said, as part of the equipment warranties, actually, the solar modules will have a 30-year power warranty and a 12-year product warranty. The inverters will have a 20-year extended warranty. The rapid shutdown devices, the fuses between them will have a 25-year device, 10-year transmitter warranty. And then the racking that the solar panels will sit on does have a 25-year warranty that they are providing. So most of the equipment here and warranties will be for the estimated useful life of our 20 to 25 years in there. I will just put in there, like Jared said, has their, my estimates are conservative, right? I guess I'll put it because it's in the RFP. So they had a total cost of $240,000 as listed. After you focus in the federal tax credit of $73,200 and their estimated focus on energy credit of $15,971. The total cost at the end of the project for the city would be $154,829. They would estimate that over, and this is their estimation, they had a 30-year production value in here, longer than I had, but so they would say that the system would produce over $600,000 of energy savings to the city if it can last 30 years. So potentially the project could save an upwards of $448,000 to the city over its useful life. Now, some of those, I'll be honest, when you get that long, I don't know if the equipment's going to make it that long, but I would definitely say based on this, the payback would probably be more in the 10 to 15 years. I think I had 15 in my handout. I would say that would be cut down drastically in there. And I'm also confident that the system will last 20 to 25 years. So in the end, I think the city would have something that will be able to be a good thing for the city to have, provide some savings, and at the end of the day, actually save the city potentially a fair deal amount of money down the road. So I guess staff would recommend awarding the 2024 City Hall Solar Project to Solar Connections in the amount of $244,000.
But the cost of the city is $154,829.
Went over, now that we're gonna have to pay Solar Connections $244,000 as part of the RFP. They will assist us with filling out the paperwork. I'll help Sabrina to get the tax rebate from both the federal government and the Wisconsin Focus on Energy, that the ultimate cost of the city when everything's paid for would be that $154,829. But some of that would be a rebate after the fact. Our contract with Solar Connections would be
Understand.
for the $244,000 listed.
I will make a motion to award the city solar project to Solar Connection for the amount of $244,000.
I'll second.
Seconded by Sabrina. Any questions or comments?
Chair,
Yes.
thank you. I don't have all the information in front of me to see everything that Kevin just spoke about. And so I trust what he says, but I would just like to go ahead and review it and make my final vote at council on Tuesday. So I will be abstaining tonight. Thank you.
Okay. Yeah, I just want to also, I guess, make one quick comment that very comfortable spending the extra $9,750 from, for the second lowest bid, if you will, just based on the scoring from the staff as well. I think that's a small amount to get what the staff actually had rated the highest. So, all right. Any other comments or questions? Sabrina?
I'll also note that we budgeted for the solar power for City Hall, $219,216. So the 244 would be over that budget amount, but once you bring in the rebates, we'd come in under budget.
We have no problem covering it up front, though, right?
Correct.
Where will the initial additional costs come from until we get the rebates?
We won't have an issue covering it up front.
Okay, okay, all right. Thank you.
Mhm.
Any other comments or questions? Hearing none, all those in favor, please say aye. Aye.
I,
And then we have one abstention.
And abstain, thank you.
Thank you, Dan. All right, moving on. Item number 8, the 2024 pavement project bid.
Yep, I'm gonna keep going here. So before you tonight is the 2024 pavement project. We did bid this project last week. As per normal, we get one bidder based on the items here. Matthew Construction did provide a bid here. They had a total base bid of $570,000, $889.04. Bid alternate number 1 was to do a little maintenance work that includes some additional paving at the Public Works facility around it's for the sweeper drainage area there, Jared, right?
Correct, yeah.
Yep. And then bid alternate number 2 was for additional poly fiber, so crack filling. We only have on hand at the city at our public workshop from last year, we had about 19,000 pounds of crack filling material left over. We did bid out some additional contractor supplied crack filling application to get closer to our annual about 40,000 pounds applied. As you can see down there, the staff would recommend awarding to Matthew Construction for the base bids. That would have what was included in the capital projects for our pavement replacement area. And then it also includes the city provided crack filling material with the contractor installing it. And then we would also ask for bid alternate number 1 for the additional work, maintenance and new pavement at the Public Works facility for a total award of $597,793.44.
I will move to award Matthew Construction for their base bid plus bid alternate number 1 for a total award of $597,793.44.
I can second that, and I'm wondering what was the budgeted amount for, just for the record.
Yeah, so we had 534,000 budgeted in the 2024 capital improvements for the paving in the neighborhood between 13th and Main Street. And then we also had the 49,000 left over from the pavement maintenance project. And then we're also using $50,000 from the 2023 pavement maintenance project that we did not get the extra crack filling done at the end of the year. So we have about 633,000 available. We're authorizing $597,793. Also with this, we do bid out manhole adjustments in our pavement bid in case something would come up, but we do anticipate using city staff for those. So if we do that, we won't be charged for that, and that's about a $25,000 item.
Any other questions or comments? Hearing none, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Item number 9, municipal separate sewer system, public education and outreach. This one is back to Jared, right?
With Kevin.
Tell me all or not.
What's still you, Kevin?
Yep.
Roll tonight.
I'm having a big night tonight. Good deal. So, right, included in your packet tonight, as part of the city of Onalaska, we do have a stormwater permit from the DNR. Make sure I say the wording right here. Our municipal separated storm sewer system, acronym is our MS4 permit. As part of that, we do have a public education and outreach portion of our permit. Try to inform citizens, residents, community members, private businesses of ways to reduce stormwater pollution within the city of Onalaska and in the greater La Crosse County area. So I'll be going over here tonight. So first slide. So the first slide is the La Crosse area water. So as part of our permit to provide public education and outreach, the city partners, we have a stormwater group. So we partner with neighboring communities here in La Crosse County. So it's us, City of La Crosse, Village of West Salem, and City of Holman, multiple townships, and also the Village of La Crescent. All pool our money, and we do pay a consultant to assist us with some of the outreach. They go to trade shows, send out flyers, and as part of that, we have developed a website. The website's been up for a couple of years, and I just wanted to take some time to re-put it out there if people wanted to go to it. So it's called the La Crosse Area Waters. The website is the lacrosseareawaters.org. That our consultant runs. Our consultant currently is the Habitat for Humanity, actually assists us with our stormwater outreach. Every year we do on the website, we do have a Soak It Up Award. This is a nomination process where people can nominate a business, their neighbor, themselves, for people that are going above and beyond for stormwater pollution prevention. So this might be people using a rain barrel, putting in a rain garden. Various businesses have won it for their commitment to stormwater treatment on their site. The Soak It Up Award has probably been going on for about 8 years now. We have had some local winners in the city of Onalaska. Misty's Dance Studio on 12th Avenue South received an award maybe in 2018. They have a placard describing how they treat stormwater on their site. Northern Hills Elementary School actually was a past winner that has that for a rain garden the staff and kids put in. So just wanted to make clear, if people want to go look on there, you can see ways to help with stormwater pollution prevention. You can see the community members there, and it has some other links for additional resources on the site. Next slide, Jared. So as part of the MS4 permit, they have it broken down into certain categories. So the first one I'll talk about tonight is illicit discharge detection and elimination. An illicit discharge is any discharge to a municipal storm sewer, storm drain, or pipe that is not composed entirely of stormwater. So you can see in the picture here, somebody dumping their waste motor oil down the drain. We get this a lot. So just want to, remind and outreach that things like waste oil, cooking oil, paint, household chemicals, right? We would not want to see those down storm sewer drains, right? A lot of the drains here go directly to our waters without much treatment currently in the storm sewer system. We do have some stormwater ponds, but as you can see, we don't have anything that would be able to treat motor oil being dumped down the stormwater drain. That would be a very difficult pollutant and most likely reach a water of the state, some of our local water bodies here in and around the city of Onalaska. So just kind of reminder, those are things we look at. Actually, Public Works staff does go out on an annual basis to look at all of our stormwater outfalls, all of our major outfalls that are the last pipe in the system before it goes to water to the state, to see if we have any scouring, if there's any staining that might have said we would have had a discharge, right? And we do have to document for the permit for that. Next slide, please, Jared. Next item is household hazardous waste disposal, the proper management for household hazardous materials that may cause stormwater pollution, right? So these are, once again, things we want to be able to ensure we're keeping contained at our businesses or our residents, right? Even if you think of things, if you have painting or if you're doing an oil change in your front yard, in the driveway, right? Make sure we don't get any staining on the pavement, right? That could also eventually lead to that oil being carried by rainwater into the drain. So automotive care, fluids and cleaners, household cleaners, make sure we keep them properly stored inside, away from any availability to get soaked up in rainwater. Containers, aerosol, other fertilizers, pesticides, and paints, right? Always make sure that when you, if you're a homeowner, please, when you do put any fertilizer, pesticides, please make sure there's no rain within the next 24 hours, right? So it doesn't get washed away with the rainwater. Down there, example, the 2024 recycler that's put out through the La Crosse County landfill and the local municipalities. The city's copy of it is on the city website. People can view this. The La Crosse County landfill does have a household hazardous waste disposal program that is included in that. So if you have something, last little bit of a can of paint or motor oil, please look to them instead of putting it down the drain and then putting the container in the garbage, right? So they have a program that can help assist with proper disposal of those items. Next item that is included in the stormwater MS4 permit is yard waste management. Yard waste can contain nutrients like phosphorus and nitrogen that can use up oxygen in rivers and stream. Yard waste can also increase sediment in water bodies. So when we think about yard waste, clippings and stuff like that, something we want to make sure here in the city you try to capture, right? We don't want to see a pile left out where rainwater could carry some of those yard clippings, waste and stuff, heavier amounts if you had a pile that could lead into the storm drain. So just a few things here for how the city can help with yard waste management. Our city yard waste collection will start April 1st. The city, we do provide a vacuum leaf collection in the fall. The city does a routine street sweeping April through October of city streets. And just to remember some of those last leaves, instead of being blown out into the street, right? Leaves can be used for mulch around your garden, flower beds and stuff. So if you do have a few left over at your home towards the end of the fall, please make sure to use them accordingly and not blow them into the street where they become a sedimental hazard.
Chair, when I could make a comment?
Yeah, sure.
Thank you. So Kevin, thank you for this. I was appreciative of attending the Misty's award a few years back. I thought that was very interesting, and thank you for your passion for this. I guess one question I have is for this small handout that is kind of educating us internally. Does the city have a plan to extend this out to our residents to help assist and educate them to what we're trying to accomplish here? Thank you.
Yeah, we do try, Dan. That's sort of the part of bringing this here tonight, right? Just to have something that's publicly noticed, right? People can attend here. They could be choosing to watch it online. We do try to do this with some of our consultant, right? And the La Crosse area waters, they do try to do public outreach on behalf of the city and our other communities in there on the public sector with attending various trade shows and things like that. So we do try to get a reach out as we can for the residents in there. I could post this on the city website under our stormwater, just so people could have a refresher. We could put the slideshow online too. So if people are looking at the city website, they could run through this and just see some of the ways they could assist and help with stormwater pollution prevention.
Yeah, Kevin, thank you for that. I know I watched with great interest your recent video. I thought that was really good regarding salt and brine. And for me personally, I think that is what really gets people to have more of a buy-in. You know, we have alders and electeds and staff and such who can go ahead and share those videos and such on social media and such. You know, especially when they're little snippets of 30 seconds, a minute or so, up to 2 minutes. I always appreciate when Frank Fisher up at the shop will go ahead and he talks about water. You know, if it's in the budget or whatever it takes to go ahead and continue that, I for one am very appreciative of that. And I think it's very relatable for our citizens. Thank you.
Thank you, Diane.
Thank you. So continuing on, the next sort of part that's included in the permit is stream and shoreline management. The goal here is to minimize stream and shoreline erosion and restore ecology value to the waterways. So some of the ways the city helps with this is some of our building setbacks. For that, we don't have a whole lot of areas that would have directly adjacent properties to waterways, but we do have a few. Some suggestions to private businesses or citizens that may be online or look at this in the future is to try to keep trees and plantings along the banks to slow and filter runoff, providing a buffer strip. So you have some grass area or some native vegetation prior to the stream. You just don't want to have a parking lot right up dumping over to the edge of your stream bank. and also a selective riprap placement to help in case you do have any areas that maybe the plantings don't take. It's tough to vegetated area, low light area, right? You could use some riprap rock to armor that shoreline to help hold it in place. Slide, please, Darren. The other topic is residential infiltration. So this is what property owners can do to help not only us here in the city, but the region as a whole with stormwater pollution prevention. They can reduce pollutants in a variety of ways. The picture there is just a simple rain barrel hooked to the gutter. Also planting trees and shrubs to try to help soak up rainwater as it falls. One thing you may not think about is pet waste kind of deal can have a lot of sediments too there. So, you know, some of that is some of our ordinance helps with residential pet waste, but just something to remind people, not only on your yard, but when you're out in public, right, cleaning it up kind of deal, that little bit here and there that might not wash into the street. If you could clean that up, it helps everybody, including the property owner it's getting deposited on. And then also just to make sure reduce lawn and garden fertilizers, pesticides, and also apply them at correct times, right? You don't want to be out there the morning before the storm hits or something. You want to give yourself time where those things can soak into the ground without being carried away by incoming rainwater. Like I said earlier, a lot of good information on the site, our stormwater group funds here, the lacrosseareawaters.org. Slide, Jared. The other thing we're tasked with doing, and the city does a good job, is our construction site stormwater management. Myself, planning and inspection staff, the city, we conduct routine erosion control inspections on residential builds, commercial builds throughout the city. So some of the construction aspects for residents or contractors that may be listening to this is, erosion control with silt fence, silt socks, swales, temporary seating, silt and sediment cleanup, right? We want to see like the street, you don't want to track sediment from your vehicles or equipment out in the street. We want to make sure that would get swept up, cleaned up, so those sediments don't go into the storm sewer system and ultimately into waters of the state. The city does this through our inspections, both the Public Works and City Planning and Inspection Department, and then our follow-up with enforcement in case we do have a site contractor that is not following the guidelines or the rules we have set up that could be potentially having some sediment discharge from their site that could cause the pollution. Additionally, in this is not only once the project is done, but nowadays there are a lot of sites that have smaller for stormwater ponds on the physical site as part of some of the DNR guidelines. Construction sites now have to do some pollution prevention internally before it discharges to the city stormwater system. So this would be something for businesses, property owners potentially that would have stormwater facility or a best management practice, a rain garden or something installed in their site just to maintain those, make sure you're cleaning them up every year, getting any leaf litter, making sure that there's not sediment buildup in there. And then also, once again, is all those things is sort of a repetitive thing. Make sure you limit fertilizers and pesticides when applying and also apply them at the appropriate times. Second to the last side here, pollution prevention, residents. This is kind of an odd one here, but if you think about it, maybe try to wash your car in the grass or take it to a car wash, right, where they have collection for the debris, the oils, the grits that are coming off that car. Washing your car in the driveway, which is kind of American tradition though, but some of the oil and grit you're washing off the car would then go directly down into the street, into the storm sewer. So you're depositing that directly into the storm sewer system. And once again, a little one is to keep automobiles well maintained, right? The leaky oil from a car that's dripping onto your driveway or dripping onto the street could then have rainwater hit it, and a small amount of oil would be carried away with that. Businesses, right, manage and track salt usage during the winter. One thing that the Wisconsin Salt Wise Initiative is doing is, the idea that potentially you can be over salting, right? People salt more for to make sure they're doing it so they don't have a liability maybe with a fall, right? But when they do that, potentially you're putting too much salt down where you're putting so much salt that not only is it cut through the ice or snow that's on there, but then potentially that leftover salt residual could get carried away or meltwater could take that in there. Most areas in the Midwest, we are seeing the chloride levels in lakes and streams go up because of salt usage here for winter snow maintenance. It's more of a national trend. Businesses manage and track salt use, inspect facility for litter, leaks, spills, right? Things of that nature. Wrappers, right? Once again, oil or something, or if you don't know that something's leaking or spilling, you might have a gas tank or some an oil tank. A larger facility would have those. And then another thing for just dumpster maintenance. You wouldn't think about it, but leaks in a dumpster, right? You get stuff in there, the bag leaks, whatever you put in there leaks out of the bag, through the dumpster, and then out of the pavement, and then gets washed away. Make sure the dumpsters have cover so you don't have too much stormwater going in there. And then just proper drainage around the dumpster, potentially making sure it doesn't drain off the facility. In time, just a little photo there to the right, just sort of the how you can help, right? How you can prevent, reuse, the energy recovery, treatment, disposal, just ways to for pollution prevention, a little pollution preventing pyramid there. Last slide. And then this would be the last slide. For the presentation, this is another metric for our stormwater MS4 permit, green infrastructure and low impact design, promote environmental sensitive land development developers. So that would be green roofs. One of the things we do sometimes the photo shows is when somebody wants to redo their parking lot or something we do now as city ordinance, make them add some islands, right? Add some plantings, add some areas where stormwater can be directed and captured. For that, another example is permeable pavers. The benefit of low impact and green infrastructure would be air and water quality, stormwater discharge rates and volumes. That would be a reduction, and then potentially could add some property aesthetics. So that's all I had tonight. Just a simple review here of items that the state and our permit asks us to do outreach on, and some simple ways the city, our residents and business community can help with stormwater pollution prevention. So with that, I'll open it up to any questions.
Well, Kevin, you mentioned you might put this on the city website for, citizen awareness.
Yep.
So this does a really good job of trying to inspire citizens to do the right thing out of love for our community and for the environment. But what I don't see here is the appeal to self-preservation of pocketbooks of if you can't do it for love, then maybe you want to do it so that you don't get hit with a substantial fine. I assume the fines for, if I were to go out to my own storm drain and dump a bunch of motor oil down there and I got caught, I assume that fine would be substantial, correct?
Yeah, I mean, some of the illicit discharge, I'll be honest, sometimes gets hard to track, but yes, if we would have thing where somebody would see it, somebody passing by, walking would see somebody in a video, right?
Yeah.
There would be ways the city could find the person or the property owner for making illicit discharge, not only the city, but also the Department of Natural Resources, right? They would potentially, we'd go to them saying, hey, we have systems. They ultimately, I believe, have the statutory authority to issue a citation. We would provide them the evidence and they could issue the citation to the business, the person, as long as we would have somebody identifiable.
I'm just, yeah, go ahead, Jared.
One example of that is we had over the years, we've had more than one restaurant in the city that with all the cooking greases you see within restaurants, sometimes the staff are not motivated to get it to the grease dumpster. So they get out the door and they dump it in the storm drain. And we've had that at a couple different restaurants in the city over the last 20 years. And we actually, when that happens, we call the DNR warden. So the warden will go out and she tends to get more compliance because they're a figure of authority. And also they threaten with the fine. So we do have things like that. We also have the Wisconsin DNR has a stormwater person that keeps track of us and how the city does with our permit. And they're always a resource too that we can contact and have them come out as more of a higher level authority that is always willing to assist us also. So, and we do have obviously city fines if the police officer goes by and sees you dumping drain oil in a storm inlet, they could also give you a fine, or we can fine for construction site erosion control. If we get someone that is blatantly not trying to do their part, we have issued fines for that before too.
So I'm wondering, and again, I'm just conversing here, if there might not still be value of, if you can't, make the appeal to our better nature, but if you can't do it for that, then understand, we could even just say something more general that failure to abide by this can result in everything from fines and citations up to even prosecution, and leave it at that. But actually, because it's the carrot and the stick, yeah, so. Would you see value in adding that in there if you're gonna post
Yeah,
online?
we could certainly look into that. I want to make sure we, talk to legal counsel,
Sure.
right, to make sure. But yes, if that's something that we could say in the post or on there as a disclaimer, right, we could certainly add that. Yep.
Okay. Cool. Any other comments or questions?
I would just add, we are very fortunate with the group that we have with the La Crosse Area Waters. That's been going for 15 years now. And it's a great group. The county participates financially. All the municipalities divide up financially by their populations. And for what our contribution is, we couldn't do anything to get close with what our contribution is as to what the whole brings together in that. And it's just a great thing. And then I'd also state that, as part of our permit, going back to Alder's Wolf's comment, we're trying to we do this multiple ways. They do a lot of stuff. They do the Cross Waters will use the billboard once in a while. They do the videos that you saw that Kevin made. They go to, as Kevin stated, they'll go to events. This is just one more avenue that we wanted to use to get the word out. So, and help us with our permit compliance, that we are trying to make an impact with getting the word out. And then last thing I'd say is Kevin does a great job with our MS4 permit, coordinating all the activities. He attends the meetings for the Cross Waters group. There's more to it than what happens. And actually during our last year, our last audit we actually had to hire outside consultant to do a lot of work for us. So we've been looking at too. It's just, this just doesn't go away. And the more regulations we get, the less eventually it's going to take more staff time. It's going to take more staff to do what is expected in the permit. And a lot of it goes by unseen, whether it's sweeping streets. I mean, we obviously see that, but doing stuff like inspecting outfalls or testing outfalls. We actually had testing done at a couple of the outfalls that had liquids coming out of them. So there's a lot going on behind the scenes that isn't seen by the public.
Thank you. Any other comments or questions? Okay, thank you. Moving on to item number 10, pay estimates. We have 9 estimates.
Correct.
What's that?
Correct.
Yes, okay. I'll make a motion to approve the monthly pay estimates.
I'll second.
Motion by myself and seconded by Sabrina. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. That concludes the Public Works portion of the agenda. We move on to utilities. Number 11 says that there is no report, which moves us on to number 12. I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second. Sorry.
Motion by Jared, seconded by Sabrina. Any discussion? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. We are adjourned. It is 7:59.